Hello from COP25 in Madrid, the UN climate conference, where the phrases climate finance and Paris alignment are on everybody's lips. Well, nearly, at least on the lips of the three guests with me at the moment. They represent three of the 9 multilateral development banks. These are the global, publicly owned banks that support projects around the world. And for all of them, climate and environmental finance are becoming more and more prioritized. Well, to help us answer the questions, what do Paris alignment and climate finance mean for you, MDBs? I'm joined by three people who are actually the heads of their climate action teams. Monica Scatasta, who is from my own institution, I must declare an interest, the European Investment Bank. We have Ahmed Al-Kabani from the Islamic Development Bank, and we have Gianpiero Nacci from EBRD, which is the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So all of you joining us now, do feel free to send us your comments and questions in the course of this, and we'll do our best to try and answer them over the next few days. But let me ask you first of all, Ahmed, to what extent can MDBs help to limit global warming to below 1.5 degrees? I'm going to hold the microphone.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you. Well, the multilateral development banks actually have a key role. As you rightly said, we are owned by the governments. The governments are our key stakeholders. What we've been doing for the past few years, and now with this new Paris alignment engagement that we have, we've been working closely with the governments, the ministries, line ministries in our member countries, in order to develop their national plans, their low carbon development plans, their low carbon and resilient development plans, to make sure that climate change is mainstreamed properly in their national development plans, and working with them in developing how these plans actually incorporate climate change in terms of adapting to the risks and also making use of the opportunities that climate change actually brings to these countries.
Gianpiero, do you think that MDBs can actually set the agenda themselves?
I think so. I think we've been demonstrating over more than a decade of working together that we have the capacity to influence the way the financial sector is shaping up its kind of standards and its approaches to climate finance. We've been working together for many years, for example, in the area of climate finance tracking, and this new development with the Paris alignment, I think, will represent a quite significant reference when it comes to the definition of what are the type of investment, the type of initiatives and activities that MDBs can promote in order to achieve the objective of the Paris Agreement.
Monica, we come back in a moment to what you're doing together on the Paris alignment, but do you think, what's your take on this? Can MDB set the agenda?
I think that we can influence the agenda. We should be a little bit careful. We have to be humble. We do not set the agenda. We work with our counterparts, with stakeholders, with countries, but not just countries. It's national government, local governments, it's the private sector. And it's through that dialogue that a new agenda is emerging. What we can also do is show by example. And this is where, for instance, the new energy lending policy of the EIB is so important, where we're really committing to actually step out from unabated fossil fuels as of the end of 2021. This is not to say that others cannot continue financing, for instance, natural gas. It is for us to say that as the EU Climate Bank, we make a commitment not to do so and to prioritize the transition to a new future, to the only possible future, in fact.
Gianpiero, last year at COP24 in Katowice, the MDBs, you three, but including the 6 others, said that you would come forward with a common framework to help the world, but yourselves as well, move towards Paris alignment. Have you done it? Have you kept your promises?
It's a good question and a difficult one to answer. We have certainly made a lot of progress in defining an approach which help us to identify the solutions and the initiatives that determine how our operations are aligned with the Paris Agreement. We're just coming from a presentation today where we illustrated the way we would like to approach this problem and the way we want to manage this very complex question. And I think we have definitely delivered on the commitment that we made last year, because we disclose our joint approach that looks into mitigation and adaptation operations, but also the way we are looking at other complex parts of the equation. For example, the way we're going to report on progress, and also the way we are going to, introduce considerations associated with the Paris alignment within our internal operations.
Taking a step back, Ahmed, why does it matter, actually, for those of you who might say, that's all a bit confusing, why does it matter that you have a common approach?
Well, as Giampiero mentioned, the complexity of this is actually the key thing. And I don't think any of the multilateral banks and on their own, or any institution on their own, could actually have a right answer to this question. This is why, through our collective experience, collective engagement in the countries, we've been working very hard together to developing this framework to address these challenges, because it is a complex challenge. And I don't think any institution on its own can be really working and developing meaningful solutions. And the collective action, not just of MDBs, I think Monica mentioned it rightly, you have to be humble. Our role is to try to give some direction to other financial institutions, local financial institutions, the governments, on how we think we should plan our development, how we should take our development plans forward, and how the private finance should be should be flowing in that sense.
And that's a key point, isn't it? The private finance too.
Can I jump in? I think that for the viewers, it would also be important to say, okay, why does Paris alignment in itself matter? Because for many people, it may mean very little. What it means is really that we're not just focusing on financing more climate action. This is fundamental. We have to accelerate the transition. We have to accelerate our investment in those activities such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, and others that get us there. But we also have to proactively step out, proactively disengage from certain activities that do not belong in a Paris-aligned future. And that is what Paris alignment is all about. And really, we're sending a very strong message by coming together with this common vision that we're not just doing more of what is nice and what supports climate action and environmental sustainability, but we're moving away proactively while taking into consideration social impacts. And this is a fundamental aspect as well.
And these are not easy decisions, are they? I mean, we've found that at the EIB as well. We know that. But how much do you think there is a momentum in your institutions to be going in that direction?
Well, the momentum is certainly there and is, how to say, further reinforced, or let's say there is extra pressure from what we see happening in the world. Mm-hmm. The scientific evidence of climate change is becoming more and more relevant in what we do, and affects definitely the way we operate and how the policies in our institutions are shaping up. I think for us the critical element is not only to work together as financial institutions, but very much setting up different partnerships, multiple partnerships for greater impact. We, as a group, we have definitely the capacity to influence and to interact more effectively with these partnerships. I'm thinking about, for example, the NGFS or the Coalition of Ministers of Finance for Climate Action. These are all very critical initiatives that have to be supported, and I think we provide not only a good counterpart to work with, but also the way to implement and to really bring these considerations and this policy work into the operations, into the investments.
Okay.
Yes, I think to add to that, there is a lot of momentum going. I think one of the big issues is how to make the best out of this momentum and turn it into action on the ground.
Absolutely.
And I think this was part of the whole exercise and the whole engagement together, and this is why the multilateral development banks brought their brains together. We want to translate this momentum, this goodwill. We know there's a lot of goodwill from different countries, different stakeholders, developed and developing, but how to turn this into action and how to help channel this goodwill into operations and actual investments on the ground in our member countries.
Good place to leave it there, and that's all from me here at COP25, and also from our colleagues at the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the Islamic Development Bank, and of course the European Investment Bank. Thanks all of you. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.